For the first time, I have to say that I believe many of those in charge in the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country.
I agree with Steven Crowder, but we come at it from different perspectives. He has waged a war against the Daily Wire following his decision to go independent and launch his own media company. He claims the conservative media has become a censorious cabal. Let's watch more.
We here at Mug Club, we thought that we were all in this together, that we were fighting the media, entertainment, industrial complex. We thought that we were all genuinely taking it to big tech. But too many of those in charge of the big conservative platforms are verifiably in bed with them.
Steven Crowder feels that the $50 million over 4 years contract that the Daily Wire offered him was the equivalent of a slave contract. You know, really is. He's concerned about not getting paid if he ends up costing the company money through his actions, or if he fails to provide the content that he has agreed upon in the contract. Now, Will Sommer from the Daily Beast tweeted this: there's a big feud breaking out tonight, this is something he posted yesterday, between two of the biggest names in right-wing media. It pits Steven Crowder against Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, all over a $50 million offer for Crowder that he found so offensive, he leaked the terms of the offer. Now, in Crowder's video, I just want to note, I watched the whole thing, there is no mention of the $50 million offer. And I would venture to say that was on purpose. But as Will Sommer notes in his video, Steven Crowder insists that this is a slave contract. There's no need to be enslaved like this, he said. Then the Daily Wire revealed this slave contract was for $50 million over 4 years, 4 weeks off a year, and Crowder never working Fridays, not a bad deal. And I would agree with that, Cenk.
Yeah, so this is basically Shapiro versus Crowder. And I hate that Crowder is making us take Ben Shapiro's side, but there is someone who's clearly right and clearly wrong in this case, and Shapiro is right and Crowder is wrong. So guys, think about it, man. 4 days a week, that's it. You get 4 weeks off. And by the way, you can take other days off to go touring, et cetera, as long as he makes up for it. We'll give you some of the more interesting details of the contract in a second. But these are the same right wing who minimize slavery. Oh, we shouldn't teach racism and slavery and all that stuff, critical race, or get it out of the schools, right? And then he's like, only $50 million over 4 years when I barely have to work. It's like slavery.
It's amazing, it really is.
And his show's an hour long and then half an hour behind the paywall. That's like half the size of our show, right? Like the guy just barely does anything. He goes out and he's like, oh no, black people and gay people suck. And he thinks $50 million is slavery?
It's insane. It is insane. Now, Crowder shares some details in regard to what it was about the contract that he was so offended by, some of the terms that he was concerned about. So let's start with this video.
Let me go through this. Effectively, full ownership of all your social media platforms, channels, in perpetuity, the rights to your content, name, image, likeness, even the ones that you've built. Don't sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be if it was me. If Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is. Got to get those dollar bills. If I failed to do that, it would be a $250,000 reduction in fee per quarter.
Yeah, listen, you're getting offered $50 million. How do you think a for-profit media company like the Daily Wire makes its money? Through ad reads, through content that is monetized. It's almost as if Steven Crowder is having a little bit of difficulty understanding how his $50 million salary would be funded. You get what I'm saying?
100%. So look, guys, I run a digital media company. I know how this works. So that's why I'm positive who's right and wrong. And most importantly, Crowder's an idiot.
He's really dumb.
He will not, I would be shocked if he makes that kind of money on his own. Shocked. I know the economics. The reason Daily Wire would make more from Crowder than Crowder makes himself is because of those ad breaks where they would put in a lot more ads and charge for all those ads. Now on YouTube, he's choosing not to do that. There's just the pre-rolls, mid-rolls, etc. Okay, that's fine, but you'll make less money. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. If he rejected the contract and he was like, you know what, I don't want the 50 million over 4 years. Instead, I'm gonna make still a lot of money, like 20 million, whatever it is, right? Because I don't want those ad breaks. Great, wonderful, nothing wrong with it at all, right? But you don't come out and be like, oh, I can't believe they're trying to make money off me. You're a right winger. Don't you understand capitalism? Yeah, of course they're trying to make money off of you. Did you think it was a nonprofit? Did you think it was for charity? What did you think? Look, by the way, though, to be fair to Crowder,
no,
a lot of the right wing just gets money handed to them from right wing billionaires.
That's true. That is true. Yes.
So they're used to just like, what? I'm not getting money for free? Well, I get paid for my propaganda all the time by rich people. Why aren't you paying me more for my propaganda? Okay, so now the other thing that he mentioned is that, like they have these things about how I have to deliver a certain number of videos. Yeah, that's called doing your job.
Yeah, okay, we gotta get to that. We gotta get to that, guys. This is my favorite excerpt, favorite portion of his 27-minute long rant, okay? Pay close attention because he has never extended this concern for other workers. Let's watch.
Don't sign something that has another $100,000 daily penalty if it's not signed off on beforehand. You get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day. Hey, anyone wonder why there's burnout in this? Anyone wonder why you have kids come up and they leave and never to come back? You think if you had that kind of a penalty, you think if someone said, hey, we're gonna penalize you $10,000 every day you miss coming into work, you think you'd be stressed? This is worse than the left frames their contracts.
No, but Steven Crowder literally might be the dumbest person on the right. I'm not exaggerating. That is not hyperbole. Can you guys imagine a situation in which you might get sick and you don't get paid because you stay home due to your illness? Can you guys imagine? Yeah, Steven, yes. We can definitely imagine that. 100%. Steven Crowder, who felt the need to call men who want paternity leave. Well, why don't we actually go to that tweet? Let's go to graphic 4 here. As a dad going through this right now, everything Matt Walsh has said is accurate. Paternity leave is for wussies, although he didn't use that word in particular. Full disclosure, I provide 2 weeks paternity leave for my male employees. I don't know if I believe that last part, but nonetheless, apparently being a responsible father who has a new baby and wants to be supportive of the mother and his child in like the first few weeks of that child's life, unacceptable, get back to the mines. But for Steven Crowder, if he can't deliver on the content that was agreed upon and then he doesn't get paid because he didn't deliver on the content that was agreed upon, that is one of the biggest offenses. How dare you?
Guys, think about it. If he signs a contract and there's no penalty for not delivering videos or shows, then he could just go, all right, suckers, here, give me the $50 million. I'm gonna take a vacation for 4 years. Well, no, but you got to deliver on the thing that we signed. He says, no, I don't. What do you mean? I don't want to be made to work. Like that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Guys, you remember how we covered the railroad workers strike? You know, remember what the strike was over? It was certainly about wages too. But the main issue was sick days. You know why? How many sick days they got? 0. They have 0 sick days, right? So this son of a bitch gets all Fridays off, gets 4 weeks off, and any other time he wants, it gets $12.5 million a year. And he just found out that, you could have sick days. People can get sick.
My absolute favorite thing about this whole debacle is how he is unwittingly criticizing capitalism. the unwitting part is the hilarious part of all of this, right? He's just so oblivious, completely unaware, and by the way, completely disconnected from the reality that the vast majority of Americans have been dealing with and facing in this country when it comes to their workplaces. But I want to continue, there's more. Okay, let's go to more crying from Steven Crowder over, again, his $50 million contract.
Let's start with the demonetization. If blank is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of the advertising partners, the company is not able to replace them within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%. That's a sponsorship boycott. So that's saying, hey, liberals, boycotts work.
Yeah, if your content is not getting monetized because you insist on saying things that advertisers flee from, how are you going to justify making the kind of money that you would make, right? The $50 million. Like, it's just hilarious because he doesn't. Anyway, let me go to Cenk because Cenk understands this perfectly and he can crystallize it for you all.
So if your videos are demonetized, then the company makes no money. Right? So and by the way, there's a couple things here. Number one, if he just wanted to be a jerk, and he's a right winger, so there's a good chance that he would do that. I know because of his ego, he'd probably want to keep going. But if you don't put it in the contract, then he can do this at any time. Then he'd be like, you could just go on there and say the N-word 12 times, right? And you're done. All your videos will get demonetized, etc. And then he'd be like, okay, I guess I can't do videos. Give me the $50 million. I'm going to go take a 4-year vacation. Of course you have to put it in the contract that he's not allowed to do that. And if they're not making any money from his videos, how the hell are they gonna pay him $50 million? That doesn't make any sense. And the thing that he said earlier about that they own all your social media in perpetuity. No, God, does he have an agent? Does he have a lawyer? Does he have any? He apparently does have an agent who's
dad, right?
No, I don't know, but his agent is also incredibly stupid. Daily Wire did a video explaining their interaction, etc. So the reason I say that is because it's in perpetuity for those 4 years, the content that you create for those 4 years. They don't apparently even understand contracts. And do they get to own the things that you create while they're paying you $12.5 million a year? Of course. What did you think was going to happen? Why do you think they're paying you that much money? And by the way, it has a 2-year extension, so it's actually a $75 million deal.
Oh God, okay. I just want to hang myself when I hear about this stuff. Anyway.
So I don't know what in the world Daily Wire was thinking. I don't know how they would ever make this much money from his show. It makes, knowing the economics of the industry, it makes no sense at all. Again, I would be shocked if Crowder made anywhere near this money on his own. I think he made the mistake of a lifetime. The Daily Wire was probably gonna basically subsidize it because they think they're building a bigger business. So moron of morons, and Anna, you're absolutely right. He just doesn't understand how capitalism works. He's like, what? Now you pay me and all of a sudden you own my stuff? Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting because when you're on the winning end of capitalism, right? When the system is working out in your favor, it's all fine and dandy, and anyone else who's complaining about it, who has a valid critique of it, is just a wussy, is just a crybaby. Oh, just it wants entitlements. This is the most entitled video I've ever watched.
Yeah, Anna.
Imagine being so entitled that he's saying, let me decode it for you. He's saying, I believe I should make tens of millions of dollars as I help the company lose a ton of money. And by the way, there's one other part to this, Cenk. Final video for you, because I think this one just really does crystallize how unbelievably dumb this guy is. Let's watch.
If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such a platform, and the company is not able to resolve the issue within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%. Then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20% reduction. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify.
Listen, the one thing that's unclear to me is whether Steven Crowder's content would be grouped together with other Daily Wire hosts on one Daily Wire YouTube channel. But understand, this is how it works. If his show does something that leads to a suspension of that channel, that is the loss of a major revenue stream, right? So if, let's say, I don't know, on a Friday power panel, for instance. I'm not gonna blame it on myself. I know what I'm doing, please. I'm just kidding. But like, let's say there's a Friday power panel and someone says something that is promoting violence, political violence, right? And that leads to us being suspended, the entire channel being suspended. Well, then the actions of one host saying something incredibly dumb and irresponsible leads to everyone being punished with the entire channel being suspended.
Yeah, but it's worse than that, because in that case, it's one out of many people, right? In this case, it's just Crowder, and he's making an active decision to sink his own channel by getting it demonetized, and he thinks he should be paid anyway, even though the company is not making any money. I mean, I don't know any left-winger that's that extreme in their anti-capitalist point of view. Like, I don't care if the company's making any money, they should give me $50 million anyway. No left-winger has got the gonads to say such an absurd thing.
And it goes even further. I don't care if the company is not making money because of my actions. That company should reward me anyway.
Yeah, I don't know communists who would demand that. It's insanity. Look, guys, there's one thing he did say that was true. I'm gonna come to that at the end. But making this video is dumb on two fronts. One is, rejecting the contract was a terrible idea. He's never gonna get a deal that good again. But two, he didn't have to make the video. He started a war here for no reason. They've actually been friends for 10 years. Ben Shapiro, Boring, who runs Daily Wire, and Crowder. And these guys are allies, friends, etc.
Get you some better friends.
And he just started a flame war for no reason when they offered him a perfectly great contract. And now, by the way, a lot of people listen to the Daily Wire video and they're like, I think Crowder's wrong. So he cost himself maybe even more audience. But why did he do that? Because this industry creates flame wars nonstop because it draws attention.
Yep.
So you saw it happen to us, right? Those harlots, Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore, they leave and they're like, oh, start flame wars, get attention, turn on them, and we make money, right? So now it's happening to the right wing. Enjoy, guys. There's gonna be a lot more of that, okay? There's gonna be people who leave the Daily Wire and start talking smack about it, the Blaze, all of that, and they're gonna snipe you and snipe you and snipe you. I love it. Have at it, Hoss, okay? But the one thing he's right about is he talked about how big con and big tech are in bed with one another. Potentially right about it, let's put it that way. It is awfully curious how the Daily Wire is always at the top of the Facebook rankings. Yeah, again, running this business, forget us. I've seen 1,000 other companies. And for that to happen organically seems near impossible, okay? Shapiro and Mark Zuckerberg are good friends. They have dinner from time to time. And voila, Shapiro's company winds up at the top of Facebook all the time. So I don't know if Crowder knows something I don't know, but he started talking about how big con, as in conservatives, are in bed with big tech. And that might be exactly what he's referring to.
No, I don't think that's what he's referring. What he's referring to is, oh, look at Daily Wire going along with honestly, the guidelines that big tech has in regard to monetizing content. And look, guys, it's the advertisers. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Advertisers do not want to advertise their products on content where someone is repeatedly using the N-word or saying terrible, hateful, racist things. And so when the videos get demonetized, it's because of that reason. And so with the Daily Wire, he thinks he's being censored by the Daily Wire essentially for, the Daily Wire contract specifically noting, hey, if you're doing things that are getting you demonetized, there are gonna be consequences for that because you're not bringing in any money through your content that has been demonetized. And he thinks that means big tech is in bed with big con.
It could be both of our interpretations.
Right.
But I will tell you, the last thing that this reveals is that Steven Crowder doesn't even know a single intelligent person. Like that anyone could have told him, hey, it's advertisers that pay out companies like Daily Wire for the ads, and then Daily Wire then pays you. So if advertisers don't want it, Daily Wire doesn't get paid, you don't get paid. But apparently he doesn't understand that concept at all, and neither does a single human being around him. Apparently they all looked at that contract and was like, slavery. I mean, he just broke a new stupid record.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.